Hello and welcome to Read with Pride, a podcast focused on LGBTQIA plus literature brought to you by the Ocean County Library's Ocean Pride Committee.
Hello, I'm Diane, pronouns she, her.
Hi, I'm Sam, pronouns they, them.
Hi, my name's Frank, pronouns he, they. We're the Ocean Pride Committee, and today we're here to bring you a very special episode of Read with Pride, Booking and Cooking. What did everyone bring to the table today?
Ah, nice. I brought The Do's and Donuts of Love by Adiba Jaigirdar. So.
Hooray. And I brought in Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Shu.
And I brought Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander.
Yeah.
All right, so I love that you brought up that you were surprised by how many of these books there were, because I've been telling you for multiple episodes, I think.
You have been telling me.
I love this as a subgenre. I think that food is a wonderful way for people to connect. It can be an excellent way to facilitate cross-cultural conversations, and it's also a wonderful way to bring characters together. Because what do you need to do when you need to bring two people together for a long period of time? You have them eat together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I'm so glad you were able to come into my special subgenre.
Well, and I think we spoke about this. I'm trying to think of the book we read in a past podcast. Gosh.
It was Sorry Bro.
Sorry, Bro?
I think it was Sorry Bro because it was all the Armenian food.
Yes, Armenian. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you are correct. Sorry, Bro. And that's when we were like, wait, we need to do more. Yeah. And I have to say, when I was reading this, and then I finally read Chef's Kiss, which you're going to talk about, that I know, you've been talking about for years. And then I even took out, you then suggested some other ones, The Baker and the Bard.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, I didn't finish that one. I'm going to finish that this week. And it made me think I've read other ones that have a very similar, I guess, like you said, food and cooking brings people together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a good topic. And then I brought donuts today to share with everybody from Uncle Jude's Donuts, which is located in Toms River. And I just want to say they were rated on the Digest Online, rated #1 in New Jersey. So
we've got some pretty darn good donuts.
Yes, they smell very good. You can't smell it through the speakers.
But you can go to Uncle Dude's and, I don't know, say you heard about them on this podcast and they'll maybe say, cool.
That's right. Absolutely.
We have no discount or sponsorship.
That's right.
We just love Uncle Dudes.
We're just in it for the love of the game. Sam.
Me. Hello.
Tell me about the book that you picked today.
Okay. Where's the page about it? So, childhood best friends Nova the witch and Tam the werewolf re-meet while Tam is tracking down a demon.
What kind of baking was there any baking going on in it?
Why did you select this book?
Yeah, so on the cover of Mooncakes, we have the two main characters baking together, and on the back there's a sheet of cookies and a cat, and it's very cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I unfortunately did that thing you're not supposed to do, where you judge a book by its cover.
Which we do every day.
Yes.
That's why there are covers.
Yes.
The marketing teams work very hard, actually.
Yeah, that is true. The first mention of baking is when they talk about Sukkot and the Mid-Autumn Festival.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, on page 73. That is the first mention of cooking, and you can see a few pages in on that same chapter, everyone preparing everything. And actually what you mentioned earlier, Frank, is kind of what happens in this. Nova is a witch, and she has a whole family. She comes from a family of witches, and it actually happens where her deceased parents come back as ghosts, and they can only do that on certain holidays. And from there, it leads into some character drama where, why are you still living at home? You should be out doing things. And it's well, a lot happened after you died. I kind of need time to relax.
Yeah.
So
grief. I love books about grief.
Yes. So that's kind of how cooking gets into it, where it leads to the character conversations.
I was just looking over because it's a graphic novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like one of the characters was like a bird, it looked like.
Oh yes.
Like a big pigeon.
Oh.
That's like a cousin. He is a
Yeah,
pigeon.
he's a side character,
Yes.
but he's
He's
Yeah.
very silly. I love him a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is one of the rare episodes where I've actually read all of the books.
Wow.
So, like I said, this is my subgenre.
Mhm.
From what I remember reading Mooncakes, while it wasn't like cooking focused, a lot of the magic that they practice does have to do with like herbs and plants.
Mm.
And there's still a lot of emphasis on like coziness in the graphic novel, and a lot of that coziness comes through with like tea and snacks and kind of like, you know, like anime food, Ghibli style.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I totally see what you mean when they're like looking into wolf magic, and at the end where they're all getting potions together. I totally see what you mean by that. We're like cooking or just in general mixing ingredients together to create something is kind of all connected to that because they're making things to help protect Tam from the final conflict. And that's kind of something that food does sometimes, where it just brings everyone together.
You ever just
Like
have
you
like a
said.
really good bowl of chicken soup,
Oh,
and then you feel like, oh, this is soup to cure my ailments? Yeah.
cozy.
I love a good chicken soup, but like at my house, like chicken soup is good like when I'm sick, obviously. We
Yeah.
need a good, but there's something it's called pastina,
Yeah.
which, and in every family makes it a little bit different. Like ours, it was like milk and butter. And, pastina is the little macaroni stars, if you don't know. A few years ago, there was controversy because they were going to stop making pastina and people went crazy buying all the pastina. You can still find pastina. But it's very cozy. Some people feel like that way with mac and cheese or,
Yeah, your comfort food.
good comfort food.
And speaking of comfort food, I'm going to bring this over to one of my comfort reads,
Yeah.
which is Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander.
Mhm.
So, Chef's Kiss is a grumpy sunshine workplace romantic comedy about food, being true to yourself, and fighting for what's right.
Mm.
I think I've blurbed this book before saying it's a bon appetit and fan fiction, where we have a very high-strung pastry chef, Simone, who comes into work one day at the Discerning Chef, a very fancy food and recipe magazine, to find that the test kitchen has been completely reorganized and no one's told her anything, where she meets our wonderful, lovable tornado of a love interest, Ray, a very funky, non-binary person who ends up creating a lot of good trouble at the workplace.
I made sure I read this one. When we were talking about this, what was interesting is I had this was my plan to read because I was like, oh, donuts. It's definitely, although you don't know, mooncakes, right?
Mhm.
But I was like, I have to read Chef's Kiss. Frank has been talking about it for almost a year or maybe longer. So I read both. I finished Chef's Kiss yesterday, and I really liked it. And we know there's a second book to Chef's Kiss,
Yes.
right? You read the second one also?
I have read most of the things this author has written.
And I was surprised, I guess when I read that one, I was surprised there was the fight in it, in the middle. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking it was just gonna be cozy, and then I was like, oh, it got into some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So which, let me go, speaking of heavy, my book also, The Do's and Donuts of Love, I felt, so this book was about a young girl, she lives in Ireland, she's Bangladeshian, is that the right name? Bangladeshi, thank you. She lives in Ireland, and she gets on the Junior Irish Baking Show. Her parents own a donut shop, and so does her ex-girlfriend's parents. They own a competing donut shop, and it had a lot of talks about being fat and fat phobia, about being Bangladeshi in Ireland, then they had about being cisgender, but not, how in the world, white people, have it easier. You know, there's not as many, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
Walls up.
yeah, walls up for sure. Barriers.
Yeah.
And so one of them, the dedication actually, it says for brown kids, queer kids, fat kids, Muslim kids, anxious kids, and then also for donuts. So I thought it was a really good read. So yeah, that's my book, The Jews and Donuts of Love. So
That sounds really neat.
it was a fun book, and Frank also read that book.
Whoa.
You know, Frank is well read.
I am well read in a few particular niches.
Yeah.
So, Diane, what about the Do's and Donuts of Love did you find like really spoke to you? What made you really enjoy this book?
So you're looking at my journal right here, which is when I listen to books. We know I listen to audiobooks, but I click the bookmark tab and then I'll go back and be like, oh. So there was a lot that spoke to me. There was fun stuff in the book. Like, first off, their donut shop is called You Drive Me Glazy, which is so fun. I do want to say, I like levity in books also. And every chapter is like another song title. So, You Drive Me Glazy was the donut shop, but then Donut Fall in Love. Like, all the chapter titles were very, very cute. All good things crumb to an end. So puns, you know. What spoke to me, you know, was the fat phobia part of it, you know. I think the author talks about she really wanted to write a book that addressed fat phobia. But then as she was writing, part of this was in the acknowledgments, she said that she didn't want to be so like dark. And when you're a fat kid growing up, you are told, and she said specifically in Bangladeshi culture, and again, I'm Italian and I feel this too. It's kind of like, eat this, eat this, eat this. But at the same time, like, oh, but why are you so much? Or, you know, you should lose weight, or maybe that's not the way you should eat it. All those things. So she did say, you know, you get conflicting messages growing up, and that's for everybody, right? Every size. Because I know there are people that are thinner that are told like, oh, you know, how come you know, so thin? But that spoke to me. But then there were other things that I found interesting in the book, that being Bangladeshi in Ireland was interesting because I would never think of like, oh, you know, you're like, oh, Irish, they're all like white redheads or something, which is a stereotype, I know. But so that didn't speak to me, but it opened my eyes more. Yeah. And that was something interesting.
What were your thoughts on the actual baking competition?
It was fun. They were fun, like the competition pieces. And I could read it and picture that I was watching a TV show, like watching a Great British Bake Show. I don't watch a ton of TV anymore. But I have in the past. And when I do, like, more like, I like to watch things, like, Is It Cake? That's the kind of baking, like, I love that. And I'm like, oh no, it's a shoe or something. But, or what's it, Nailed It? Yes. Those are my things, because I'm like, oh, they try so hard. You think, and I used to, for a while, I took some cake decorating classes. This was like 25 years ago, okay? That's right. I'm like, oh, it was when I was just, like, first married, and I didn't even have my first kid. So it was called, like, you took it at like Michael's and you got all the Wilton
cake decorating class.
So, and I loved it. It was very fun, but I was not very good at it because you have to take your time. I went with my sister she's a bit of a meticulous person and hers looked so good. Like, I still, for the life of me, can't make a rose. Yeah. But so, like, that's why I think I, like, nailed it, because, you know, they'd be on that TV show, people would make such amazing things, and then you'd be like, wah, wah, you know. Like,
you tried your best.
That's how it was with although I did pretty good. I made a scrapbook of my cake baking days.
That's beautiful.
But it was fun. It was a fun little moment of my life, and every now and then I still have, like, I had bought the case and I still have all the tips and, you know.
You can return to it at any point.
Exactly. That's the fun thing about hobbies. But, so yeah, I thought the you know, the actual baking, those like little vignettes or whatever, they were fun. And then I don't want to give any spoilers, but like, as you know, it's a competition, and that she gets into this competition, and she's hoping to bring the if she wins, it'll help her parents shop. So, you know, like that was interesting to watch that, and to see how it unfolded.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, as someone who loves to bake but hates decorating, yeah,
Oh.
it's hard.
Yes.
I do not blame you in the slightest. I rush. You're in good company.
Oh, but here's one thing. Speaking of a baking competition, years ago, I worked at an organization that had a baking event, and it was a competition, and it was supposed to help, morale of an office. So and so I took my time. This is when I was really in the heart of like decorating. Took my time and made this amazing, elaborate cake with a ski slope, and I did marshmallow snowmen, and it looked so good. It looked beautiful. I did not come in first because it wasn't about looks. It was about taste. So that's hard when you and that was a part of this book actually. It was like it's people do eat with their eyes and their mouth, right? Yeah. They talked about that. So, but that cake, I didn't even care. It was just about the decorating, and it looked pretty. But yeah, so it's important to have the both. The both.
I think
things.
that the conversation between like style and substance, definitely, you have that in food, you have that with people, you have that in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
That is a thing that also comes up a decent amount in Chef's Kiss, if I may pivot to my own book.
Yes. Yeah.
Where the Discerning Chef, the magazine where Ray and Simone work, has been a very big legacy name in magazine publishing in this world for a very long time, and their image is getting old and stale, and they bring on this guy Chase to try to refresh the image, bring the Discerning Chef into the digital age. And all of a sudden, instead of being able to like meticulously test recipes and make sure that they're able to like produce high quality products for their readers, the test kitchen team is suddenly told, no, you need to make things that are viral, that will, go viral on TikTok, or that, everyone's doing kale right now, so I need 15 different kale recipes, and it doesn't matter that kale isn't in season right now. And there is very clear tension between wanting your workplace to continue so you can do what you love, and wanting to do work that you can be proud of. And a big part of doing work that you can be proud of is being able to be yourself while you are doing your job. I mentioned earlier that Ray is non-binary, and that actually ends up becoming a major plot point in the story because they are on the receiving end of a lot of transphobia in their workplace. They are not being called the correct pronouns. They are not being addressed by their preferred name by a lot of the higher ups at their workplace. And it causes them immense distress to the point where they would love to be able to leave their job, but they can't because this job is the only way that they will have health insurance that would cover top surgery, which is a gender-affirming surgery that has been proven to be life-saving care.
So did you, again, I did read it, and there was one thing that I loved when like some of the ladies went out and they said like, oh, you look like you, like I loved that. Just hearing, I was like, that's perfect. Was there anyone any character that you related to more, that you loved? Like, what did you love about the book? I know you love a lot about the book. I love
everything about this book. I know a lot of times we talk about like, how did your opinion change about this book? And I went from like, oh, I enjoy this to, oh, this has permanently altered my brain chemistry and I'm going to think about this forever. Very specifically, I am deeply grateful to TJ Alexander for writing Ray and writing about the top surgery recovery process, because I I had that same procedure done to me earlier this year, and it was reading this book that actually portrayed the experience very realistically, which you would not expect for a romance novel, and helped me decide, no, this is something that I can handle. And I am right there with Ray. I feel like a much better version of myself. I feel more myself. And it's kind of crazy to say, yeah, you know, this life-changing thing that I did is because of this silly little rom-com that I grabbed at the library just because I liked the cover. But that's the truth.
That's interesting you speak about the cover, because this is your version, your copy? Because I was like, is this an adult or YA?
This is an adult.
An adult, because mine is a YA, which is fair. So when I kept looking at the cover, you know, you like to figure out who's who, and this is Ray, right? And this
Ray is they're a like tall,
sorry.
slim white person. The cover where they're wearing a white collared shirt and a red apron with a pride bracelet, and they have short blonde hair, and they are back to back with Simone, who is wearing a white apron with yellow trim, like lime green pants, a coral pink shirt, and she has like a messy bun of brown hair.
So when I looked at it for the cover, like just knowing Frank loved it and I got to read it, and I don't read the synopsis a lot. So I was like, okay, was it male, female? Was it, like, was he transgender? I didn't know, I had no idea. And honestly, non-binary, that's what they were portraying, right? Although I think their apron, there's a few interesting things. Their apron's like a leather apron or something, right?
Yeah, they have a leather butcher's apron.
Yeah, but I understand why they made this red. I mean, you could have red leather, but, so, yeah, I will have to read the second one. Actually, I already have it saved on my thing. I'm going to read it. But I didn't know much about top surgery, so I do think, yes, it was you say it's a real portrayal, so, but I also found the whole, like when Ray came out as non-binary, like that whole section was very interesting. I have a child who's non-binary, so we went through this a few years ago where they started using different pronouns and slowly coming out with different things to me. So it's a good sort of portrayal of what that's like, about trying to get pronouns correct, and you don't want to mess up, but you don't want to make it like it's somebody else, like that's their fault. Like they had that really good in there too, I thought, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And there's also another thing that I absolutely love in this book, where Simone has a best friend and roommate, Luna, who is a transgender woman. And early on in their time as roommates, Simone, who is bisexual, but keeps it kind of like under wraps at work. It's not something she's ever purposely brought in to her workplace. She's not particularly out and proud. She attempted to like be nice to her trans roommate, but ended up asking these kind of clumsy questions, and ended up working out a deal with Luna to be like, hey, ended up working out a deal with Luna because Luna mentioned that doing all of this kind of emotional labor and educating is taxing on trans people, and I'm going to say for queer people everywhere, to constantly be explaining your identity. Simone and Luna work out a deal where every time Simone wants to ask Luna a trans question, Luna gets compensated with food. And so it'll be like, all right, this question about how to, affirm this person that you very clearly have a crush on but are not willing to actually admit it, this is going to be at least a one tray of brownie questions, or one tray of brownies question. And I thought that was also a really wonderful portrayal of just how queer people absolutely down to talk about their experiences, their identities, but make sure that they feel appreciated.
I really like how you talked about like how the book affected what you wanted to do. So I definitely felt that back when I was in high school. It was Trans Teen Survival Guide by, I forget the author's first names, but I think the last name is Fox.
I know what you're talking about and I can see the cover, but I have no further details for you.
Yeah. I just remember like finishing the end of that book and I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to get on testosterone. So like I like being able to see that with other people and other books, just like, wow, it's almost like media has an effect on people.
Who could have thunk
representation matters. Wow.
Representation matters.
I know, it's such a shock.
It really is crazy.
Hello, adventurers. If you enjoy this content, please take a look at the Ocean County Library's new podcast called Forge Your Imagination, a guide to immersive world building. This new podcast is dedicated to helping creative individuals design their own expertly crafted worlds for books, games, Dungeons & Dragons, and more. Tune in on the first Wednesday morning of every month to learn more. Thanks for listening, and safe travels, adventurers.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, Frank.
So, what about your book? Did you identify with what got you in your feels?
So I definitely related to the two main characters, Nova and Tam, very much. Nova within the book is still living with her two grandmothers, which is extremely untraditional for her as a witch. Usually after you finish your education, you go out and do an internship to learn more witchcraft. But because of things that go on in her life, and potentially because of her disability, as she is deaf and wears a hearing aid, she is still living at home, and her parents question her on it at a family meal. And I think not just me, but I think a lot of people right now can definitely relate to, why haven't you moved out yet? And it's like, you want to buy a house for me?
Yeah.
And I think with Tam, I definitely relate to their conflict with previous adults in their lives that they thought that they could trust, and it turns out they couldn't. Including an old teacher that was kind of their main teacher that they were out to and talked about problems at home with, and then it felt really nice to see that and the effects of it, as Tam, after that betrayal, has trust issues even towards Nova, even though they know that they can trust her. And it's nice to see, and them be able to go through that and be able to come out on the other side with their loved ones there to support them. I loved that whole thing, and I love them both so much. But I do think my favorite characters were definitely the Nanas. The two very much Uncle Iroh characters, the cool mentors that are there to support their kids but will still put up a fight even if they're a bit older. They kind of reminded me of Velma and Daphne with their designs. I was like, this is Velma and Daphne when they get older. Yeah, very much so.
Velma and Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
It looks so fall. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
This is a deeply like autumnal
Yes,
book.
I'm like, I think I have to read that in the fall.
I think you might.
Yeah.
Yes. I think with Mooncakes, it's definitely, if you like you said before, Ghibli films, if you liked Turning Red or The Owl House, Amphibia, you will love this book. I am in my 20s, but it's a YA book, and I love it so much.
Sure.
It's very good.
Do you tend to lean towards more graphic novels? Do you like graphic novels more?
I think so. Yeah. I have a hard time paying attention. If I were to read like a printed book with paragraphs, I would also have to be listening to the audiobook so that I could actually retain what is actually going on, or I just zone out staring at the page for 20 minutes and then it's like, oh, I didn't do anything.
Valid.
So I like the graphic novels because I can visually see what's going on, and that helps me be able to retain like what's actually going on in the story a lot better.
And it keeps you engaged.
Yes.
Exactly. Pretty colors.
Pretty colors.
I mean, graphic novels are, they're a huge medium, and I noticed. Okay, so one graphic novel that Frank hasn't read. It's called Bloom by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganuchua. I don't know how to say that last name. Would you say
Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganuchau?
Okay, let's
Ganuchau?
try.
I don't know.
Bloom by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganuchau.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that one, okay, I have this when I look for graphic novels. I like them to be chunky, like Heartstopper, or like Bloom, but not have too many words on the pages.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is all like blues and they're just beautiful colors. But it's about a baking a bread store, if memory serves. But also, you suggested The Baker and the Bard, which is not as chunky, but it's got that kind of like feel. Like some pages, that's more illustrations, less words. So this one I'm definitely going to finish. I love a graphic novel. I think the same thing. My brain is always like moving, so I need the pictures and the words, and that's why a lot of times I'm listening. But Bloom is an excellent too, Frank. So put it on it's your subgenre.
It's going on the list. And also, you heard it here, folks.
That's right.
Audiobooks count as reading. Graphic novels count as reading.
That's
if
right.
you are taking in a story, that counts as reading.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if anyone writes quotes like I do. Were there any passages or sections of the book? Because sometimes graphic novel, it's more about like a image. Is there anything specific that stood out?
With graphic novels, like you said before, sometimes they're cut up into pieces where that's the style. But then some special pages take up the entire page. And those pages really help me appreciate how much I love Wendy's art. Page 50 in the book, the Nanas are walking into a forest and seeing mythical creatures like slugs with mushrooms growing on their backs, little rock crystal creatures. It looks like capybaras with branches growing out of their heads. And it's just like, it looks so beautiful. So definitely the big pictures where it takes up like the whole page, those ones really stick out to me.
They're very crystalline. There was one, you kept opening it up and there was like a beautiful picture of the characters kissing. It was so pretty, like on a bench with the foliage behind them. Oh, there was one part where she says, "Thankfully, I'm dark enough, not even a hint of blush shows on my face." So that I was like, oh, that's interesting. An interesting thing to think that, you forget, or maybe forget is the wrong thing. My whiteness and like, oh, of course you wouldn't see blush. But that was when she kind of got was like a crush on another girl.
Here's that page.
Yeah,
page
that's
58.
so beautiful.
And I just noticed that. The two main characters are kissing at the end of chapter 2, and underneath the bench that they're sitting on, Cat is kind of making a surprised face and covering his little eyes. Little guy.
Very pretty. Oh no, here's the quote for mine is actually, any good news, we were talking about how food, any good news or celebration has to be accompanied with some sweet food. In Bangladeshi culture, which I think many cultures, it's like,
Wasn't it Julia Child who said that any party without a cake is just a meeting?
Oh, I don't know, but I believe it.
Yeah.
That means you made this a party.
That's right.
Donuts. This isn't just
a party.
Not just a recording. An official library party. Again, brought to you by Uncle Dudes. In spirit only.
Any party without a cake? Let's see. Party without a cake is just a meeting. Very good, Frank. Yeah. All right, what about you? You got any good...
There is one that I really love. It's on page 211 of the paperback of Chef's Kiss, where Ray and Simone are talking about why Ray needs to stay at this job even though Chase, the video producer, head of the Discerning Chef's digital footprint, is being like blatantly unsupportive and has like threatened Ray's career, or that he would be forcing them to do episodes of their web series on subjects that they aren't comfortable with, like highlighting women in brewing history, because Ray is not a woman. And so Ray and Simone are talking, and Ray says a stronger person wouldn't need this stupid surgery. They just accept their body for what it is and tell the rest of the world to bleep right off. And then Simone says, hey, that is not true. Needing surgery isn't weak. You wouldn't tell someone with cancer or a broken leg to just get over it, would you? Ray slumped low in their chair. It's not the same thing. Maybe not the exact same thing, but Ray, come on. She made a helpless gesture. You've worked so hard and sacrificed so much for this. You don't do all of that without being a total
Cool person.
Yeah. Thank you. This is an adult book. There is profanity. And that was something that just made me very warm and fuzzy inside, because it's not weak to, we can pull this right into, like, we talk about this all the time, mental health matters. If you need help for something and you have that help available, go for it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there was also another portion in chapter 17 of Chef's Kiss. Simone gets invited for a night out on the town with Luna and a bunch of her other friends to see a play that one of the girls is putting on. And this is a really lovely experience for Simone, because she is now starting to pay attention to the experiences of trans people and how that's separate from like gay or bi people. And all of Luna's friends that they're going out with are also trans. They talk a little bit about how one of the girls just got FFS, which stands for facial feminization surgery, which is not actually one single procedure, but it's usually a combination of different procedures, depends person to person. So it can be like a nose job, or like changing the brow ridge, or your hairline, or softening your jaw. There's a lot of things that can go into FFS, and that is something that is still mostly considered completely elective. And there is a point in this chapter where on page 164, there's a point where they say, all the ladies in the house, all the guys in the house, to try to like get the crowd to cheer. And Simone gets sad and says, I hate that there wasn't a place for Ray to sing. And it was also rude for them to assume that the people in the front row wanted to sing the lady part, or that the other people were guys. The whole thing is flawed. It's only natural to be rubbed the wrong way. And like you mentioned, you were surprised by how much this delved into like actual issues. There is so much in this book that talks about like assumed gender roles, the idea that how you present is automatically how you identify. I do think, if I remember properly, like gender performance was also a big part of the do's and donuts of love, that as a fat brown girl, the main character felt like she needed to do femininity a certain way when she was in the public eye.
Yeah, I don't think it was as much as in Chef's. Like, they didn't talk about it as much.
But it's still present.
But it definitely is present, yeah. And I think what was interesting, and we've spoken about this before, different books. Like, I felt like in the Do's and Donuts of Love, she's just, even though, yes, she's a fat Bangladeshi girl, but she's a queer girl. And, like, there's no, like, coming out or figuring out, or like it's just her life. And I think that we say, like, there are some books that it's all about the person figuring it out and coming out, which is important. That's an important part of the journey. But in this, I was like, oh yeah, this is just a book about a girl who's queer, so and I went back to the author. There was part that she wanted just fat characters getting to exist as they were. So she said she wrote what she needed as a teenager. So I just think that was interesting, but I don't remember it doesn't mean it's not in there, but I don't really remember if there was a lot of like.
It may not have been like explicit conversation.
As much as that, yeah.
But, God, The Do's and Donuts is such a cute book. And Mooncakes is also such a cute book. I definitely think that anyone who reads any of the books that we have selected today will definitely walk away from their experience with like a warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing I want to mention about Mooncakes, I'm not sure if we can keep this in as this might be spoilers, but I do like that it's not a slow burn. The two characters get together.
They get together in chapter 2.
Okay.
Like, that's not a spoiler.
Okay. Like they get together and you get to actually see how their relationship grows and changes, especially with Tam going through issues of being portrayed by adults that they trusted in their life and seeing how that affects their newly established relationship with Nova. And it's just nice to be able to see that. I've never been a slow burn kind of guy. I like seeing either an established relationship or an early established relationship and just being able to see how they attack challenges together as a team, as a couple. And I really loved the fact that you get to see that in this book.
Mm-hmm.
That is neat, because I have to say, sometimes when I do love a good romance that at the end, and they all lived happily ever after, but do they? What is the end of, And I think also sometimes, right, when the whole thing is building, and then they get together, then I'm always like, well, what's next? Which is, I guess, why they're second books.
Mm-hmm.
To like Chef's Kiss.
I love Chef's Kiss. The second book, Chef's Choice,
right.
does the thing that a lot of romances do, I've noticed, where there will be more books in the same world and setting with similar characters, and previous characters are going to show up,
nice.
But they aren't the main focus. So you do get to see a little bit more of Ray and Simone and what they do at the end after the events of Chef's Kiss. And also, they make brief cameos in another book by the same author, Triple Sec.
I didn't read that one.
Triple Sec's really good.
Also food?
It's
a bartender, right?
It's a polyamorous queer romance about a misanthropic bartender who starts dating this absolutely gorgeous woman who was hitting on her at the bar that she works at, and then finds out that this woman is married, and then is invited to that couple's apartment for a brunch party where Mel, the bartender, then discovers that they are polyamorous and have multiple partnerships. And Babe, I think is her name. I don't remember. Or BB? B-E-B-E. I don't know how to pronounce it, and I didn't listen to the audiobook.
Well, if you listen on 2.0, you don't have to pronounce anything anyway.
But eventually, they end up starting a relationship, and then eventually Mel also deepens her relationship with BB's wife, Cade, who is a non-binary artist.
So first off, you not only are you well read, but what's so amazing is you retain. No, I mean you seem to retain a lot of it, like all of those.
Remember it if it's gay.
But you even remember, like you said, they're misanthropic, which then I was like, what even is that? I had to look it up. That you knew one of the characters was misanthropic. Like you're
it's
very
just the way
good.
To describe her.
Yeah, misanthropic, a dislike, hatred, or mistrust of humankind or human nature in general is what it. Like I don't know. It's just you're very good. There
Thank
is
you.
Another librarian that works in our system that she remembers, like so good at Reader's Advisory because she reads and retains it. But yeah, very, very good. And whatever, who cares if it's only gay? At least that's your genre then. Then you like you're an expert in that field. I've always been told like go to the experts. So you need to know about queer romance or queer books, go to Frank.
Thank you.
Frank is the expert. So
I wrote multiple notes in multiple forms. I'm looking at my phone for notes. I'm looking at my notebook for notes. Like,
Mhm.
what's this book about?
I know. It's like I just read it 2 days ago, but it's like what's in my brain, But so, what else? Do we have anything else about these books?
We'll do some rapid fires to close out.
Sure.
Who would you recommend this book to?
Oh, mine, The Do's and Donuts of Love. Anyone, but I do think fat girls, like fat people. I don't want to be, that. I think that to see the cover when I was a kid. Okay, we know I'm old. There was never this cute, like chubby girl or chubby person on the cover. It was always like a thin blonde girl.
Yeah.
And but again, I'm just saying, like, it's nice to see. It's so nice to see the representation.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, look how beautiful she is.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I'm thinking back. There is a part where she says, like, as a fat girl, you can't wear, like, you want to wear different, like, things that stand out, but it's a lot of times very, like, oh, well, maybe just wear black and,
It's
very...
black is slimming.
Yes, that's right. So, like, even that, like, look, in this cover, she's got a donut skirt, she's got watermelon earrings, her tank is, like, her top is tied...
And it's this like sunshine yellow shirt.
Yeah.
She is not trying to blend in. She is standing out and letting the world know, I'm here and I'm going to give you the best donut you've ever had.
That's right. And look how beautiful she is, So, anyway. Yeah. What about you? Who would you recommend Mooncakes to?
I mentioned it a bit earlier, like the Ghibli fans, the Owl House and Amphibia fans. I also feel if you like if you go to Renaissance fairs or if you like anything involving that, you will love this. I've thought about making a cosplay for Nova.
Oh.
I love her. They're so silly. And
Which one is Nova?
This Nova is... I'm
Dressed
looking
like-
at the cover on the non-collector's edition. Nova is wearing I want to say maroon witch hat with a blue button-down rolled up so that she's holding a plate of
Mooncakes.
Yes.
Baby, yeah.
mooncakes and has a white apron with a black hat on top of it. And then she's wearing leggings underneath that with brown, kind of your traditional witchy boots.
She's a cutie.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she has long black hair and she has a green hearing aid in her left ear. And then Nova has a plaid button down with a red sweater underneath with jeans and purple sneakers.
Non-binary lumberjack.
Yes, very much so, with a little blue streak in their hair, and hair's a bit longer on one side with...
Would you call it a
wolf
wolf
ears.
cut?
Stop! Oh my goodness. But I love both of them, and I've thought about dressing like them.
They're so cute.
They are. So Renaissance fairs, Ghibli, Owl House, Amphibia, any of those kind of mythically wholesome kind of genres, you will love Mooncakes.
Yeah. I would recommend Chef's Kiss to people who are a little bit pretentious about food, who enjoy a good rom-com, and I'm going to also say specifically people who want to be better trans allies but don't know how to start. This is a really excellent book for that particular group, because then you are going on kind of the same journey as Simone as she learns how to best support Ray and as she grows in her friendship with Luna.
I agree. Again, like as an ally, you want to get the knowledge, and you don't want to like ask a person like, and again, many queer people are very open about their journeys, but that's rude. It's, to ask a lot of times, I feel,
if you're not giving me a tray of lemon bars,
that's
maybe.
Right. That's right. So, but I agree. This gives like good, and also not only the, we went into Ray's journey, but like you said, Luna in the beginning, like that part.
And she is who the second book focuses on.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm good. I already have it downloaded.
The second
this weekend.
book is a Tea for Tea story where Luna, a trans woman, ends up. It's a fake dating.
Oh my
Fake
gosh.
dating that turns real with a... I'm not going to say more about the new character because I don't want to spoil anything, but like
Gotta look at their cover.
he's a little bit of a jerk, and I love him so much.
Oh.
Silly guy.
Silly guy. And you know what's so personal? Doing your shots together.
Real. Oh my gosh.
True romance. Helping your loved one do their HRT.
That's the cover of the next one.
I hope to experience that at some point. I've only seen that in fan art, but
Aw.
man, that is adorable.
Oh, if you could have named a
different name for the book.
different name for the book. Everything was so cute, like music titles in this.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, maybe like, Don't You Forget About Me, like Don't You Forget About Me,
Oh,
but
that
then
was
like Don't
I
You Forget
love
About
that,
Me.
actually.
That would be cute, right? But
I don't know. You also read Chef's Kiss. What do you think?
What would I name it?
Yeah, no.
But-
I think I could go with like a recipe for disaster.
Recipe for ... Like for disaster. All right.
I don't know, a recipe for love.
Yeah, but that's kind of
A recipe for something.
Yeah. But
Maybe Heart Melts.
ooh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the author they did a great job with naming it.
Yeah,
I don't have something better.
that's fine. That's fine.
You got me, TJ.
What about you?
I think a good alternative title for Mooncakes would be Black Hat Bookseller and Cafe, as that's the name of the shop that the main character lives at. We first get introduced to it in page 5, chapter 1. It's very much established, and we see throughout the whole house.
I want to own a Black Cat Bookseller Cafe one
Yes.
day, but also with a crafty part. Like I want like
Yeah.
a craft.
And we can see the characters in the cafe hanging out, talking. And there's a part where they're trying to figure out Tam's type of magic and going into the secret closet. Secret
Like, what?
closet and
On Read with Pride.
wow, hello. There was something there. You got it. Thank you.
I'm like,
And just being able to figure things out together in this safe space, which I think is something that Mooncakes could really be for someone, as it, like I've said before, it has the Ghibli, cozy, mythical nature, gay love.
Yeah?
So I think it being named after the cafe where all these amazing magical things happen would be good, because this book itself is cozy and magical.
Yeah.
Hooray.
I love it.
All right.
One thing I did want to mention.
Oh.
Yeah.
I do kind of what you guys were talking about earlier, how your books tackle these heavy topics. My book kind of it kind of walks on the line where I don't think it gets too intense. It does definitely talk about how Tam was not treated well by their father or their teacher that they thought that they could trust. But it never really delves into getting misgendered and gender dysphoria. There's a scene in chapter 1 where Tam comes out to Nova's nannies, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I called you the wrong pronouns," and that's it. That's it for the rest of the book. And I don't know. I like both, and I feel like everyone needs something different. And I'm glad that there's variety out there for what levels people can and can't handle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the topic of like, because this is a YA book.
Yes.
So the topic of anybody not like putting their trust in someone and not, that's also a really relevant topic, you know, like, and that's a hard topic too, and important to read, so I think like that's a great thing with books and a variety of books. We want to be able to go out there and get a variety of things so you could, have different experiences that you maybe wouldn't, or, so it opens your eyes, or it brings more like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bring a new perspective.
Yeah, a new perspective. But I think it also, with, me and my journey recently, I'm like, oh, maybe, it's like more like enlightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might have a final question to close us out.
Oh, good. Okay. Because if not, we might be here all day.
Yeah. If you were to create a dish that you felt, or a food, it could be a funky drink, a fancy coffee, a consumable food stuff that would describe the feelings that you get when reading this book, what would it be?
So my brain's defaulting to mooncakes, but also I've never had mooncakes before. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of something that could be multicultural, as Nova celebrates the Mid-Autumn Festival and Sukkot, like something that's kind of universal.
Jewish and also Chinese?
I'd assume so. They never, like, I don't think they explicitly say, like, oh, I'm Chinese and Jewish, but they do say that they celebrate those two things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the assumption I'm making. My brain's defaulting to challah, but that's just because, like,
Challah's wonderful.
Challah is wonderful.
Mm.
Love bread. And it's soft, and when it comes out of the oven, it's very warm and cozy.
Now I need some bread.
And now I'm thinking about the soup.
Oh.
Wait, what about like a challah French toast?
Oh, real. So you get the sweetness, but also the
Yes.
fluffiness.
Mm.
And it's very autumnal, so like throw some pumpkin spice on there.
Real. Oh, you're so right.
So
Okay.
I have never made challah. I just buy it from the store. Do you guys, either of you, ever make challah?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about a 4-hour process.
Okay.
I have immense respect for anyone that does that every Friday.
Yes.
My God.
Yeah.
It is a really forgiving bread.
Okay.
I would say it's a very good starter bread if you're interested.
Oh.
But also Trader Joe's makes a very respectable loaf.
Okay. Trader Joe's makes so many yummy things. But
I have what are those cards called? I have a flashcard somewhere of like my grandma's recipe in one of those silly little boxes. I need to find it. This is making me really want to get into baking now, Frank. I might come over. Like, it's just they're all so good.
what about you? What are you thinking?
For me, I think so. Simone is a pastry chef,
Mhm.
and Ray is a chaotic bundle of joy.
And a brewer.
Yeah. They do a lot of home brewing and make their own beer. I think I would want to do something for this book that had like a hidden element. So I'm thinking like maybe I don't know why this is screaming cupcake to me. It might be because I simply want a cupcake right now, but maybe like a chocolate and stout cake with like a, I don't know, a homebrewed stout like filling or buttercream.
Yeah.
And then you could decorate it and make it extra gay.
Real. Because when you bite into it, you get that little secret surprise.
A little secret surprise.
So I was trying to look up some Bangladeshi foods because obviously this makes me think like, well, donuts, of course, you know.
Yeah.
But because
She's the donut queen of Ireland.
yes, but because her culture is Bangladeshi, I think it should be something a little more flavorful. So maybe a donut, but like that, you know, tricks your senses a little more, or something like that, you know, or your taste buds, and just more of a complex flavor.
Mm-hmm.
She also spoke about making a lava cake.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's, and they spoke about souffle. You know, like they talked about so many different recipes. I've never made a souffle. I do enjoy eating a souffle, but just like a lava cake, I think what I like. Okay, I love like raw cake dough, cake batter.
Ooh.
So like I think that's why I like a lava cake or like
It's
a chocolate
melty.
souffle. Yes. So maybe something like that. But
I'm so glad we're doing this right before lunch.
I know.
Yeah. Yes.
There are still a few donuts. But so anyway, I think that's it. Good job, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to visit the Ocean County Library's website for more podcasts and events. All the titles mentioned in today's episode can be found throughout the Ocean County Library, free with your library card. Until next time, happy reading.